guys, Bowie here, and this is things I learned with Miracle's Invoker in 7.10. And let me be clear, I've been waiting for a long time to do this. It's been a while since an Invoker video, and the reason I'm doing this video is that Invoker just broke 50% win rate in 5k plus games. With the mid lane being harder to dual lane slash gank, with some mid heroes being nerfed, and with roamers being overall weaker, I feel like Invoker has grown a little bit. So before I start, let me give you a couple of considerations. While Miracle's style of Invoker is very popular, there's a ton of variants, mainly because of matchups and also because this hero is not mainstream enough for a full-on consensus to be farmed. Mid ones sometimes play Invoker with treads on Omida, some players get the Tornado talent, other gets Meteor damage, the level that you get the talents change, so please, if you really want to learn Invoker, use this video as a stepping stone and not absolute truth. The first thing we have to talk about is the Wraith ban as a starting item. First of all, Ekla is becoming a very popular item on mid heroes. It's not uncommon to see high MMR co-ops going Ekla nowadays just because the hero struggles with wave clear, and that was true for Invoker for a long time. But with Invoker sharing the experience talent alongside the second Force Spirit, the Ekla trend faded away. It seems to be back though now that the talents changed. If you check Dota Buffs guide section, you will see a myriad of different Invoker players going for either Naked Basilius or Ekla. The mana region scaling is pretty good, but there's also a big emphasis on wave and tower pushing in this patch, and the item is great at it, especially when you're pretty much always getting the Force Spirits at level 15. Another piece of the puzzle that I needed to mention is that this is a mid Medusa. A lot of times this patch Invoker falls flat because it takes too long to get online, but Medusa is very similar to Invoker in the sense that she will farm ancients and not leave the mid lane too much. She's a very slow-paced hero in a way, so Invoker can deal with that pretty well. The first thing to note as the game starts is that Miracle had the range creep in front, yet he doesn't allow it. See how hard he tries to put him back? The thing with Medusa is that it's very easy for her to get the range creep with the snake, so look how he deals with that. He blocks the lane in a standard fashion, gets great creep equilibrium, yet he ruins it straight away by attacking Medusa. Weird, right? What that achieves though, and look how he tanks the creeps a little bit, is that now Medusa is zoned by Miracle's creeps. He misses some CS, but the important part is that not only he gets the range creep CS, but since his range creep was not in front, he has the chance to disengage from it and get the deny at the same time. While that happens, Medusa is tanking 3 melee creeps and she lost 15% HP already. That's not the only implication. Now Invoker is level 2 and can, with the help of his Force Spirit, make it even harder for Medusa to last hit under tower. Notice that as he retreats, he already turns on his quas, maximizing his HP regen only when he's not trading hits or getting less hits. One thing to note on how Miracle plays here is how close he is to the creeps. You usually see players being as far away from the creep wave as possible, but he knows that a good player like that Medusa will only commit a snake, especially a low level snake, to the ranged creeps. So he knows he has less hit advantage until his range creep is very low, and he won't lose any mana there. While he had Ekla queued up for the entire game, he brings himself the Magic Wand and extra tangles. As time goes on in that lane, it gets very hard to avoid some Mystic Snakes, so the HP regen from Wand and tangles really help, while the mana allows him to turn fights around. His Lion and Earth Spirit show up for a gank, and pay attention how he never commits Sunstrike even though he had a decent stun there. The creep wave was coming, so he gets the cheaper and more reliable spell, especially when you already have a Force Spirit that synergizes pretty well with the Cold Snap and the Security. While his courier gets to him, pay attention how he toggles between Quas and Exor during last hits. As soon as the last hit ends, he goes to Quas, but his courier ends up dying. The standard build for Invokers nowadays, throughout regions, if you're going Midas and playing Exort Invoker, is getting waxed at level 8 and alternating between Exort and Quas until that point. As he gets the Ekla, he doesn't even bother turning it off since he has a Catapult Wave. He ends up dying here, they don't get the Q Spirit shows up for, and he falls. One interesting thing to note as Miracle responds is that since he has vision of Radiant's bottom shrine, he sunstrikes the top one to know whether Medusa has access to a shrine or not. Might seem minor, but that's a game information that he can use. He finishes his Midas, and note that this is his third clarity of the game. Farming a fast Aghanim Scepter is all about having that constant mana regen to use your spells. To expand a little bit more on why you get waxed at level 10, first of all, if you have 4 points in Exort at level 8, you cannot skill it anymore, and a 4th point in Quas is usually overkill. You don't need that much HP regen to farm, farm, and it doesn't help you with much. That's also the time most Midas's are completed, which allows you to start using Alacrity to farm ancients or just push lanes when the enemy has to live it. One thing I want to point out, and that might look small to you, is the constant Quas to Exort swap I mentioned before. Miracle starts taking some creeps as the lane pushes here, but you can see that he tries to get Quas on as much as possible unless he is trading hits or less hitting, which means he goes from 3 HP region to 16. Keep watching though, he gets initiated here, and I feel like he could die or it would be way closer if he didn't use Quas that well. Because of the constant attention to the orb swapping, he is pretty much full HP after a few seconds without having to fair salves or shrine, which means he's constantly getting lane golden experience. Another thing to point out is the two styles regarding getting the talent at level 10 or not. A lot of players save the talents and get them at level 14 and 15 just because they really want the double 4 spirits at level 15 or as soon as possible. Some still play the old style and skill the first talent at level 19, and that's kind of weird because that was never really a thing. Invoker never became popular, but in pubs, that's how people were playing, and that's all personal preference. What I like about Miracle is that since he learned the Meteor at level 10, he asks for a rotation and uses the strength of the talent straight away. Medusa, after all, is a non-mobile hero, so the talent fits this game nicely. Notice how he learns the Meteor way before Lion shows up for the gank. Also note how he doesn't Meteor when Hex is used. Instead, he walks towards Medusa to wait for the higher duration disable and also to be sure that the Meteor will hit on top of her. He cold snaps to enable Earth Spike and the Meteor is committed, and after he reaches high ground, he invokes Alacrity to not miss any attacks. Remember what I mentioned about tower pushing being a priority? First of all, Miracle never left the lane at all. Since Invoker has so much HP regen, pay attention how Miracle plays this. He sees a huge engagement in the bottom side of the map, so he pretty much starts tanking the tower and attacking with Alacrity. He disengages lightly, ghost walks, but after the dust, he cancels instantly, and since he has way more points in Quas than Wax, he would rather be slower but regen more, and this is the first time he ever goes back to Fountain without actually dying. Notice that while he goes there, Bounty Hunter dies, so he forced a huge rotation towards mid, and now that his goal is to just get back to the Fountain without fear of dying, he pops the Wax just so he can be a little bit faster. So a big part of high level Invoker playing is understanding what your goal is, and at every moment use your orbs accordingly. And after he regens, even with Midas ready, he TPs mid. I could see a lot of people TPing in the shrine to get a bigger crit, but the amount of farm you would lose from a wave is not worth the experience at all, especially because Invoker is super slow, so moving from shrine to lane is very painful to the hero efficiency wise. The first time Miracle farms a jungle camp is here, and that happens as all the lanes get empty, so he predicts a rotation and he was right. Note how he plays the fight afterwards. Look at his spells, he has Sunstrike and could invoke something else, and I could see a lot of Invoker players just panic casting Sunstrike in the middle of those heroes and then use another spell. After all, 2 spell Invokers are bad. Miracle though sees a good Meteor angle, ignores the Sunstrike, he deals a lot of damage. With the cold snap he kills Tiny, and thanks to the safe Sunstrike, now he can 100% land and kill the Medusa. And not only that, he could farm ancients, he could go back to base, but no, he marches mid, and the third thing he gets is the tower. Playing this meta without focusing on taking buildings is one of the reasons I feel like a lot of Invokers fell flat in this meta, at least in pubs, and he even sends his illusions to push the lane even further with the Ekla aura to the catapult wave. One important thing to mention about this patch and Miracle's build at the same time is that it's very rare to have a core that doesn't team fight early on. Pushing a tier 1 while your team lose a fight in this patch was never good, and in this meta is even worse, especially when you have so much farm. Regarding team fights, when people think of what Invoker is good against Medusa, they think of the mana drain, and that's not wrong, but if you look at the Radiant cores, they all rely mainly on right clicks. So what he does is actually max Quas, something you very rarely see. What happens when you level that much Quas is that your Defeating Blast pushes heroes for a long distance, and when you add that with your Meteor talent and the Eggs bonus, you get a lot of damage on those melee heroes and Medusa. That dead Medusa turns into a free tier 2 bottom, and this is just beautiful synergy between the talent as well as the skill build. This skill is also nice to analyze, he TP's hidden, and pay attention how he plays this. He has Meteor and Cold Snap invoked. He waits a little bit for the TP until Tiny decides to back, and then he Meteors first, Cold Snap as the Meteor is dropping, and he throws one attack before casting Alacrity, and he casts Alacrity mid-attack animation to slow Tiny a little bit with the first Cold Snap. On top of that, look at his mouse. He doesn't use the cursor to use Alacrity. I'm usually not a big fan of self-cast, but this definitely increases his efficiency here. And only after the Earth Spirit lands the slow on Tiny, he casts Sunstrike, getting a beautiful kill. Another great play by Miracle happens here. DK finds his Earth Spirit, he pops Dragon Form, and look how Miracle plays around it. He waits as much as possible to Tornado just because he wanted to hit more people. DK rages Buyback, Medusa pops Stone Gaze, Earth Spirit lives, but look how Miracle plays before that. It's very worth noting that before the fight happens, Miracle was Ghost Walked, but he makes sure to get 3 Waxes before popping the skill, unlike most players that summon the spell and use it immediately. Because he's that fast, he can actually react super swiftly. Afterwards, knowing that Stone Gaze is not ready, and with that ward, he dives Medusa. He pops 3 Waxes to close the gap to get there faster, and they just get the kill. With the Ice Wall, he slows Tiny, but Status Resistance plus his tankiness is too much. Also pay attention how he saves the Sunstrike since there are so many creeps there and tries to gas his blink range. Super crispy, even though he misses, he was under vision, so a lot of times top tier players will look at him and you can spot the Sunstrike animation quite easily. He gets re-engaged, and pay attention to his decision making. He pops his Forest Spirit's Alacrity, but as he right clicks, he switches to Quas, so he's regening while that happens, and that also allows him to use Cold Snap when the Invoke cooldown gets ready. He summons Ghostwalk, but he dispels Track Reveal Scepter to pop it afterwards only. He gets healed as the Avalanche hits, and while he had the chance to get away, he got too greedy and dies. It was beautifully executed though.
Give me the XP. Give me the kill. Give me the rampage. I'm dead.
And yeah guys, I guess this is it. I will try to make a Pvgna extended version of this video, so if you like the things I learned videos, if you want to see more Invoker, if you want to see more of those type of videos, please like. Remember that this is how I actually gauge whether you're liking the content that I'm doing or not. And yeah, you can check my stream, the link is down below. You can subscribe to Pvgna and get a ton of different videos about the new patch. You can follow me on social media. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. It was a pleasure. Bye guys.